First contact with fear. Lieutenant Commander Diana Patel's knuckles whitened around her coffee mug as remote station Beta 12's warning klaxons shattered the pre-shift quiet. The bitter synthetic caffeine splashed across her pristine medical whites as she lunged for her console. Status report, Iris, she barked at the station's AI. Incoming vessel, heavily damaged. Quantum signature matches known refugee patterns from the Helios sector. Life signs, fluctuating. The AI's melodic voice carried an unusual note of concern. Diana was already moving, muscle memory from her years in the Terran Emergency Response Corps taking over. She'd seen too many refugee ships during the expanding conflicts along the Rim worlds. They all told the same story, desperate people fleeing from forces that saw them as property rather than persons. The medical bay doors hissed open as her team rushed in. June, prep the trauma units. Raj, get the universal translators online. Val, start warming the Regan tanks. Her orders cut through the chaos with practiced precision. The ship's docking sequence seemed to take forever. When the airlock finally cycled, Diana found herself facing a nightmare she'd seen too many times before. The vessel's interior was a maze of twisted metal and emergency patches. The air carried the sharp tang of oxidized blood from at least 3 different species. But it was the silence that hit her hardest. Refugee ships were never silent. Life signs are concentrated in the cargo hold, Iris reported. Warning, atmospheric contamination detected. Diana sealed her emergency suit with practiced efficiency. Guide me in, Iris. The cargo hold doors had been sealed from the inside. It took precious minutes to override the locks. As the panels finally slid apart, Diana's helmet lights revealed a scene that made her breath catch. Bodies. Too many bodies. Adults from various species, all showing signs of fighting to their last breath to protect. A slight movement caught her eye. In the far corner, barely visible behind a makeshift barrier of cargo containers, something shifted. Diana approached slowly, her suit sensors picking up faint life signs. "Hello?" she called out, her translator automatically converting her words into the major refugee languages. "I'm a doctor. I'm here to help." A soft whimper answered her. Diana's light revealed 3 small forms huddled together. Rixian children, their iridescent scales dulled with fear and exhaustion. The eldest couldn't have been more than 8 standard years old. "Iris, full scan," Diana whispered, her heart pounding. The AI's response confirmed her fears, these children were the only survivors. A distant explosion rocked the station. "Lieutenant Commander," Iris's voice held unusual urgency, 3 warships have just emerged from quantum space. They're broadcasting property retrieval codes. Diana felt ice form in her veins. She knew what that meant. The children must have sensed her tension, their scales flickering with renewed terror. "Like hell," Diana growled, switching off her external speakers. "Iris, initiate Protocol Sanctuary. Lock down all docking bays and prepare the medical bay for defensive operations." "That exceeds your authority level, Lieutenant Commander," Iris pointed out. "Station protocols require dash. Override Patel 77 Alpha," Diana cut in, already gathering the children. "Log it as a medical emergency requiring quarantine procedures." She managed a gentle smile at the young Rixians. "It's okay, little ones. You're safe now." The smallest child chirped something her translator couldn't quite catch. The eldest spoke with more clarity, their voice barely a whisper, "They'll come for us. They always come." Diana's smile hardened into something fierce. "Let them try. They'll learn why threatening children around humans is a very, very bad idea." As she led the children toward the medical bay, Diana's mind was already racing through preparations. She had sworn an oath to protect those under her care, and she'd spent years learning how to turn medical knowledge into a defensive weapon when necessary. The station's commander would be furious. The diplomatic corps would have fits. And somewhere out there, whoever was pursuing these children was about to learn a harsh lesson about human nature. Diana Patel had never lost a patient to bureaucracy, and she wasn't about to start now. "Lieutenant Commander," Iris announced, "Station Director Marcus Vale requests your immediate presence in the command center." "Patch him through here," Diana countered, not pausing in her preparations. "I'm a bit busy ensuring my patient's safety." The holoscreen flickered to life, revealing Vale's weathered face creased with diplomatic strain. "Dr. Patel, you've exceeded your authority. Those warships are broadcasting legitimate retrieval codes under the Frontier Commerce Act." "Legitimate?" Diana's laugh held no humor. "Director, they're hunting children. The adults on that ship died protecting them. I've got 3 traumatized kids who watched their families." She stopped, glancing at her patients. The eldest was watching her intently, their translator clearly picking up every word. "The political situation is delicate," Vale insisted. "The Karate Empire claims these children are part of their educational protection program. Their scales tell a different story," Diana cut in. She turned to the eldest child. "Would you tell the director what happened to your parents?" The young Rixian's scales rippled with grief black before steadying. "They said we would be trained. Special schools for the gifted. But they took us away, tried to make us forget our names, our songs. Mother and father broke us out, found others who helped. Their voice cracked. They gave their lives so we could be free." Vale's expression softened momentarily before political reality reasserted itself. "Doctor, the Karate fleet is demanding their return. They're threatening military action." "Then let me be clear, Director." Diana's voice turned clinical, the tone she used when explaining particularly unpleasant medical procedures. "These children are under my medical protection. Anyone attempting to remove them will face the full extent of my professional expertise." "Is that a threat, Doctor?" "No, sir, it's a diagnosis. I'm documenting severe trauma, signs of systematic abuse, and implementing emergency protective protocols." She smiled, all teeth and no warmth. "I'm following regulations perfectly. Every medical override, every security measure, all properly logged and cited." A new alert flashed across her screens. The Karate ships were moving into docking position. "They're sending over a diplomatic team," Vale warned. "Representatives from their medical ethics division." Diana turned to her medical team, who had been quietly preparing the bay under her earlier orders. "June, start synthesizing the compound variants we discussed. Raj, recalibrate the neural disruptors to Karate frequencies. Val, help me get the children settled in the secure ward." The smallest Rixian child had crept closer to Diana during the conversation. Their scales had taken on a fascinating pattern, fear gray shot through with what her xenobiology training identified as trust gold. They chirped something that made the other children's scales flutter with surprise. "They say you smell like Mother did," the eldest translated. "Like someone who fights back." Diana knelt down to their level. "In my culture, there's an old saying, never harm a child, for it awakens the warrior in even the gentlest soul. Your parents were warriors. They protected you with everything they had. Now it's my turn." The medical bay's external sensors pinged. Karate troops were approaching, their heavy footsteps echoing through the station's corridors. "Last chance, Doctor," Vale's voice had turned urgent. "Stand down now, and we can still resolve this diplomatically." Diana straightened, checking the seals on the medical bay's doors. "Director, do you know why humans are considered the galaxy's most terrifying medics? It's not just because we survived a death world. It's because we learned to turn everything that tried to kill us into medicine. We know exactly how things work and exactly how to make them stop working. She ended the transmission and turned to her team. June was grinning as he loaded hyposprays with compounds that technically qualified as medical sedatives. Raj had transformed the neural diagnostic array into something that would give Kara-T troops migraines they'd never forget. Val was singing softly to the children, her voice carrying the same lullaby Diana had heard in emergency shelters across a dozen worlds. Iris, Diana called out, initiate medical security protocol Hippocrates Omega. And please note in the log that any attempts to breach this bay will be treated as a direct threat to my patient's well-being. Noted, Lieutenant Commander, the AI responded. Though I feel compelled to point out that your interpretation of the Hippocratic Oath is rather creative. Diana checked her medical scanner, now reprogrammed for less than medical purposes. The first rule is, do no harm. I intend to honor that. But they should have thought about the harm they've done to these children before they followed us here. The Kara-T were almost at her door. Diana took up position between them and her patients, a protector in medical whites armed with knowledge of exactly how fragile life could be. Ready? She asked her team. They nodded, faces set with the same determination she felt. The children's scales had steadied into a pattern she hadn't seen before, fear mixed with hope, trust overcoming terror. The door chimed. The Kara-T had arrived. Diana smiled. It was time to teach them about human medicine. Breaking point. The Kara-T delegation's leader cut an imposing figure in the medical bay's doorway. Admiral Vexthor stood over 7 feet tall, his ceremonial armor gleaming with badges of authority, dermal plates shifting with barely contained aggression. Dr. Patel, his translator rendered his rumbling voice into crisp standard. I am here to collect Imperial property. Stand aside. Diana didn't move from her position between the door and her patients. Interesting. My medical scans show 3 Rixian children, not property. Perhaps your translator is malfunctioning? Behind her, she heard Val continuing her soft song, keeping the children calm. June and Raj had taken up flanking positions, their medical tools held with the casual confidence of weapons. Your species' tendency toward emotional interference is well documented, Vexthor stated. These young ones are part of the Empire's educational enhancement program. Their parents illegally terminated their enrollment. Terminated their enrollment? Diana's voice could have frozen plasma. Is that what you call murdering parents who tried to save their children from your enhancement program? The Admiral's dermal plates flexed in what her xenobiology training identified as annoyance. Doctor, you are creating a diplomatic incident over a simple matter of Imperial internal policy. The consequences dash. Let me tell you about consequences, Diana interrupted, bringing up her medical scanner. Your enhanced pupils show signs of systematic neural tampering, attempted memory suppression, and psychological conditioning that violates at least 15 galactic medical conventions. Would you like me to submit my findings to the Interstellar Court of Human Rights? You dare threaten me? Vexthor took a step forward, his guards tensing. Diana smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. That wasn't a threat, Admiral. This is, take one more step into my medical bay, and you'll learn exactly why human medical knowledge is considered a deadly weapon in the wrong circumstances. The smallest Rixian child chose that moment to chirp something that made their siblings' scales flash with brief amusement. The Admiral's translator rendered it with obvious distaste, the healing human smells like victory. Your station's commander has authorized us to retrieve our property by any means necessary, Vexthor growled. Do not force us to demonstrate Imperial authority. Diana's fingers danced across her scanner, adjusting settings. Iris, please note in the official log that the Kara-T delegation has explicitly threatened violence against medical personnel and patients under protection protocols. Noted, Lieutenant Commander, the AI responded. Though I feel compelled to add that your medical bay's current defensive configurations violate approximately 43 safety regulations. Only 43? June quipped from his position. We're slipping, boss. Stand aside. Each of Vexthor's words carried the weight of imperial decree. Diana held up her scanner, letting them see the readings. You're currently experiencing elevated cardiac rhythms, Admiral. Your dermal plate tension suggests imminent aggressive action. As your doctor, I recommend reconsidering any hostile moves. Her smile widened fractionally. The human cardiovascular system evolved redundancies. Yours, fascinating as it is, did not. The Admiral's guards shifted uneasily. Their biosigns told Diana they'd heard of human medical capabilities. Good. This is your final warning, Vexthor snarled. The Empire does not tolerate interference with its educational protocols. Diana's response was to key in a sequence on her medical console. The bay's environmental systems hummed to life. Interesting choice of words. Here's my final warning. I've just introduced a carefully calibrated neurotransmitter suppressor into this room's atmosphere. Harmless to humans and Rixians, but... She gestured at the guards, who were already starting to blink rapidly. Well, your species' neurochemistry is particularly sensitive. You wouldn't dare. The Admiral's dermal plates had shifted to alarm patterns. Using medical knowledge as a weapon is exactly what you forced us to learn, Diana cut him off. Humans became the galaxy's best medics because we had to understand exactly how different species' bodies worked. How to heal them and how to stop them, if necessary. The guards were definitely swaying now. June and Raj had moved to cover the children more directly, their own protective masks firmly in place. Admiral, Diana's voice carried the same tone she used with particularly stubborn patients, I can counteract the compound's effects immediately. All you have to do is leave. Take your ships and go. File whatever diplomatic protests you want. But these children stay under my protection. Vexthor's hand twitched toward his weapon. Diana's fingers moved across her console again. That would be unwise. The next compound I release won't be so gentle. And my report on your educational program is already encrypted and ready for transmission to every medical ethics board in the sector. The youngest child had crept forward during the confrontation. They stood next to Diana now, scales shimmering with a complex pattern of fear and determination. They spoke a single phrase in their native language that the translator rendered with perfect clarity, we are not property. We are free. The Admiral looked from the child to Diana, then to his increasingly unsteady guards. His dermal plates shifted through patterns of rage, calculation, and finally, grudging respect. This isn't over, Doctor, he growled. No, Diana agreed pleasantly, but the next round won't be fought in my medical bay. Now, please exit before I have to treat you for exposure to some of our more interesting human medical innovations. As the Karate delegation retreated, Diana heard Val whisper to Raj, did you actually release a neurotransmitter suppressor? Diana's smile turned genuine. Of course not. But their scanners detected exactly what I wanted them to detect. She knelt down next to the young Rixian. Sometimes, the best medicine is making the bad guys think twice about needing medicine at all. The children's scales had begun shifting to warmer colors, but Diana knew this wasn't over. The Karate wouldn't give up their property so easily. She turned to her team. All right, people. That was just the opening round. Now we prepare for when they decide to stop playing diplomat and start playing soldier. The medical bay's sensors were already detecting increased activity from the Karate ships. Diana looked at the children, 3 innocent lives who'd lost everything to escape slavery disguised as education. Her expression hardened. The Karate Empire was about to learn why the galaxy's stories about human protectiveness weren't just legends. They were warnings. Humanity's fury. The medical bay's alert system screamed to life. Lieutenant Commander Iris announced, cruelty forces are breaching the station's outer defenses. Their tactics suggest a multi-point assault pattern. Diana's hands flew across her console, bringing up security feeds. The cruelty had abandoned diplomacy for brute force, their combat teams cutting through the station's corridors with military precision. Status of emergency transmissions, she asked, already knowing the answer. Blocked, Iris confirmed. The cruelty are jamming all outgoing communications. June looked up from where he was finalizing their defensive preparations. They're really doing this? Attacking a civilian medical station? They're not attacking a station, Diana corrected grimly. They're retrieving property. At least, that's how they'll report it. She turned to Val, who was keeping the Rixian children calm in the secure ward. How are our patients? Scared, but holding together, Val reported. The eldest keeps asking if we're going to send them back. Diana's expression hardened. Not while I'm breathing. She keyed her calm, all medical staff, this is Lieutenant Commander Patel. If anyone wants to evacuate before this gets messy, now's the time. Nobody moved. Raj actually snorted. With respect, boss, we didn't spend years learning how to put people back together just to let someone tear kids apart. The security feeds showed cruelty troops approaching from multiple directions. Their armor was designed for intimidation, making them look like ancient war demons from human mythology. Diana found it oddly appropriate, they were about to learn why humans had overcome their demons long ago. Iris, initiate Protocol Nightingale, Diana commanded. Authorization Patel final override. Protocol accepted, the AI responded. Though I should note that using medical equipment in this manner violates dash. Save the list for my court-martial, Diana interrupted. Execute. The medical bay's systems hummed to life. What had once been healing devices now served a different purpose. Diagnostic scanners became motion detectors. Tissue regenerators were repurposed into targeted electromagnetic pulse generators. Even the air filtration system had been modified to deliver specialized compounds on command. The first explosion rocked the station. Diana checked her displays, the cruelty were breaching the outer medical sector. Remember, she addressed her team, we're not soldiers. We're doctors. Everything we do is in defense of our patients. Her smile turned predatory. We just happen to be very, very good at understanding how bodies work and how to make them stop working. The children's scales had shifted to a complex pattern of fear and determination. The eldest spoke up, their translator rendering their words with crystal clarity, why do you risk so much for us? Diana knelt beside them, her voice gentle despite the chaos building outside. Because every child deserves to be free. Because your parents gave their lives so you could escape. And because sometimes, being a good doctor means stopping the disease of cruelty before it can spread. The station shook again. Closer this time. They're through the first security checkpoint, Raj reported. Diana nodded, standing. June, start the first sequence. Let's show them why threatening children around humans is a historically bad idea. The cruelty troops encountered their first surprise at the medical bay's outer doors. What looked like a simple decontamination protocol turned into a nightmare of targeted electromagnetic pulses that played havoc with their armor systems. 3 teams went down before they realized what was happening. But the cruelty were professionals. They adapted, switched tactics, and kept coming. Second wave approaching, Iris announced. They appear to be using shielded equipment. Activate Protocol 2, Diana ordered. The medical bay's ventilation system released a carefully calculated mixture of non-lethal but highly effective compounds. cruelty troops found themselves experiencing everything from temporary paralysis to overwhelming vertigo. Still, they pressed forward. Diana watched the security feeds with clinical detachment. They're persistent, I'll give them that. She turned to her team. Ready for close encounters? Val hefted what looked like a standard medical scanner. Ready. Though I still can't believe you modified these to emit targeted neural disruption fields. You'd be amazed what you can do with medical equipment when you really understand how it works, Diana replied. Just remember, non-lethal only. We're here to protect, not destroy. The Cruelty reached the final approach to the medical bay. Their forces had been whittled down, but those who remained were the elite. Diana could see it in their movements, their coordination. Final warning, she broadcast over the station's comm system. You are attempting to breach a protected medical facility. Withdraw now, or face the consequences. Admiral Vexthor's voice rumbled back, you cannot protect them forever, Doctor. The Empire does not forget, and it does not forgive. Funny, Diana replied, checking her modified equipment one last time. Neither do humans when someone threatens children under their protection. The doors began to glow as the Cruelty applied cutting tools. Diana looked at her team, saw the same determination in their eyes that she felt. Remember your oaths, she told them. First, do no harm. She paused, allowing herself a fierce smile. Unless someone tries to harm your patients. Then do whatever it takes to stop them. The doors began to give way. Diana took up position between the breach and her patients, armed with nothing but medical knowledge and the human drive to protect the innocent. The galaxy was about to learn why the most dangerous force in known space wasn't a warship or an army, it was a human doctor defending their patients. Legacy of protection. The medical bay doors finally gave way in a shower of sparks and superheated metal. Cruelty elite troops poured through the breach, their armor scorched but functional, weapons raised, only to stop dead in their tracks. Lieutenant Commander Diana Patel stood calmly in the center of the medical bay, surrounded by her team. No weapons, no armor. Just medical uniforms and determined expressions. Behind them, 3 young Rixians watched with scales shifting between fear gray and hope gold. Last chance, Diana announced, her voice carrying the same tone she used with difficult patients. Withdraw, or experience a practical demonstration of human medical knowledge. Admiral Vexthor stepped through the breach, his massive frame dominating the space. Enough games, Doctor. Your defenses are breached. Your station commander has withdrawn support. Surrender the property, and we may show mercy. Diana's smile would have made a combat veteran nervous. You still don't understand. This isn't a last stand. It's a treatment plan, for the disease of thinking children are property. She pressed a button on her console. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every piece of medical equipment in the bay activated simultaneously, each reprogrammed to target Cruelty biology with terrifying precision. Neural disruptors induced vertigo. Modified regeneration fields played havoc with their armor's neural interfaces. The very air became their enemy as precisely calibrated compounds attacked their sensory systems. The elite troops staggered, their famous discipline crumbling against an assault they couldn't fight. Their weapons, designed to kill, were useless against attacks designed to incapacitate. Fascinating thing about Cruelty physiology, Diana lectured as she walked among the struggling soldiers. Your species evolved redundant nervous systems to survive your homeworld's electrical storms. Makes you incredibly resilient to conventional weapons. She adjusted a setting on her scanner. Also makes you uniquely vulnerable to targeted neural feedback. Vexthor remained standing through sheer will, his dermal plates rippling with rage and growing fear. You dare. I dare because I took an oath, Diana cut him off. To heal, to protect, to do no harm. But that oath doesn't mean I can't stop those who would harm others. She gestured to her team, who moved with practiced efficiency to secure the incapacitated troops. Everything we just did is completely reversible. No permanent damage. Because we're doctors, Admiral. We know exactly how to take you down without breaking our oath. The smallest Rixian child darted forward suddenly, stopping just short of the fallen Admiral. Their scales blazed with colors Diana had never seen before, triumph mixed with something ancient and fierce. "We are not property," the child said in perfect karate, their translator offline. "We are free." A new alarm cut through the chaos. Iris's voice held an unusual note of satisfaction. "Lieutenant Commander, multiple ships have just emerged from quantum space. Recognition codes identify them as Galactic Medical Council vessels." Diana's smile widened. "Ah yes, I should mention, when you started jamming communications, several emergency protocols activated automatically. Including a distress call detailing extensive violations of medical ethics and refugee protection laws. The Medical Council ships were already docking. Teams of investigators and peacekeeping forces were flooding the station." Diana knelt beside the Admiral, scanner in hand. "Now then, shall we discuss the side effects of your educational program with the Council's Ethics Board? I have extensive documentation." Hours later, after the Karate forces had been removed and the Council had begun their investigation, Diana found herself in the quiet of her office with the 3 Rixian children. Their scales had finally settled into calm, healthy patterns. "What happens now?" the eldest asked. "Now," Diana said softly, "you get to choose. The Council has already granted you refugee status. There are safe worlds, good families who would be honored to help you grow up free." "Could?" The smallest one chirped hesitantly, "Could we stay here? With the healing humans?" Diana felt something warm bloom in her chest. "I would have to file a lot of paperwork." She grinned. "Fortunately, I've gotten very good at that." The children's scales rippled with joy colors. The middle one spoke up, "Will you teach us?" Not like they tried to, but real teaching. "About healing?" "About protecting," the eldest added. Diana looked at these children, who had survived so much and still wanted to learn how to help others. "Yes," she said simply. "We'll teach you everything we know." A week later, the Galactic Medical Council issued new protocols for refugee protection, specifically citing the events at Remote Station Beta 12. They called it the Patel Doctrine, the right and duty of medical personnel to protect the vulnerable by any means necessary. In her office, Diana watched the 3 young Rixians attending their first basic medical class, their scales shimmering with excitement as they learned about healing instead of hurting. On her desk, a new certification declared her the legal guardian of 3 aspiring medical students. The galaxy would remember this not as a story of human fury, but as a testament to human protection. A reminder that sometimes the strongest warriors were those who had sworn to heal, and that the fiercest weapons were knowledge used in defense of the innocent. Diana smiled as she filed her daily report. The Karate Empire had wanted to teach these children about power. Instead, they had learned about something far stronger, the power of human compassion, and the lengths to which humanity would go to protect those who needed protection. It was, she decided, an excellent lesson for the galaxy to learn.